Hey there guys, in this quick Photoshop tutorial I'm going to show you 3 different ways you can remove backgrounds. So you can change this image into this image. You can change this image into this image. And you can change this image into this image. 3 different methods. Let's go. All right, the first method's pretty easy. There's a little eraser tool on your toolbar, and if you hold down on the mouse, you can see there's different options. So it really depends on what you've got. But there's the first one is called eraser tool, and we're not going to be using that. Instead, I'm going to go down a couple levels here. So I'm holding down this mouse key and I'm going to magic eraser. When I do magic eraser, a little eraser icon pops up. I'm going to hit the caps lock button, and that's going to change into a crosshair, and I prefer the crosshair. It's a lot more accurate. And then I'm just simply going to click on whatever color I would like to remove. So in this case, I want to remove the white. So I'm just going to click on the white, and that's going to remove the white. Now check out, see how it's disappeared into the flag? It's actually removed some of the flag, and I don't want that. So I'm going to click Edit, Undo Magic Eraser. That's going to bring it back. And what I actually want to do here is go up to this little icon up here. It says tolerance 50. And what that's set at is too much, meaning it's too tolerant. And when I click on the white, it's taking anything that looks and feels like white. And in this case, it's taking too much. So I actually want to lower the tolerance down. So I'm going to lower it down to 15. And when I lower it down to 15, and then I click on the white, it's just going to take away the white. Now I don't know that it's going to be 15. If 15 didn't work, I would change it to 10 and then 5. So if I change it to the lower amount, it's very specific about which color it's going to remove. And if I move this really high, like a 90, it'll take off almost the entire picture. So you just want to use that like a slider. And that's a pretty easy way. If the colors are very well defined, like in clip art and illustrations, this is an easy way to remove one standard color throughout the design. All right, so the next example here that I've got, we're going to be using the background eraser tool, and it's located exactly where the eraser is. So I'm going to click on this eraser icon, and I'm going to go to the second one down, which is background eraser tool. I like to use this one if there's a bit more subtle variation in the colors. You can see here on this vintage picture, it's a little more nuanced. It's not just one straight background color. So it's just like a brush, and I can change the size of my brush. I can make it really large, or I can make it really small. And so I'm going to make it about 400 or so. And now the key with this background tool, I'm going to have it on discontinuous. There's a couple different options here. I'm going to keep it on discontinuous. And then there's also a tolerance, and I'm just keeping it at 25. You're going to want to play with these and see what works. So there is a little bit of like detective work involved because every image is different. So whatever I click on now in this image, that's what the computer is going to try to remove. So if I click on the dark monkey face, that's what it's going to try to remove. It's going to remove all of the dark, and it's going to try to keep the light. But that's not what I want. So I'm going to go to Edit, Undo Background Eraser. Instead, I'm going to click on the vintagey background. So I'm going to click like here, and then I'm just going to paint along the edges, and it will start to remove the background. I like this method because it gives me a little more control over where I'm pointing the eraser, so I can ignore entire color palettes if I want. And then I'm just going to go through and just, work my way through the image. And basically it just removes anything. If I go right over that green, for example, it keeps it because it's not part of the color palette that I originally checked on. Now you notice that little finger there? I'm going to try to ignore that finger because if I go over it, it's going to remove it because it's almost the same color as the background. So it gives me more control. Now that I've removed around the entire image, I can then just go back to the first method, which is the magic eraser tool, and then I can just remove the remainder of the background and I can clean it up. So it's a pretty quick win. The last option is kind of interesting, and it may not work for every design that you're working on, but in this case here, I've got a large white fence and I'd like to remove most of it. And you could use this for an arty print. So what I'm going to do in this case is I've got my layers panel here, and I'm just going to double click on the actual layer. So not the name of the layer, but the actual like meat of the layer here, you know, the background of it. And that's going to open up this layer style panel. And I don't really care about anything here on the left. I don't care about anything on the top. What I care about instead is right here where it says this layer, and there's a slider, a black slider and a white slider. And all I want to do here is just move the white slider. So I'm just going to move this layer, and you'll watch all the white magically starts to go away. And if I move it all the way to the left, the whole picture is gone. The same thing works with the black layer. You can make it progressively the opposite, where all of the dark gets removed. So you can make some really arty designs with this. So that might be an option there. And then you could just fill in the layer, for example, with, you know, a color like, say, I'm just going to pick like a funky color here with the paint bucket tool. So again, I mean, you can use this for any sort of purpose, but this makes a nice art print. So I hope that helps. 3 different ways you can remove backgrounds in Photoshop.